Till in 1959, police were called to a segregated library in South Carolina when a 9-year-old black boy refused to leave. He later got a PhD in physics from MIT, and died in 1986, one of the astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. The library that refused to lend him books is now named after him. Here's what happened. When the police got to the library, Carl says, two burly guys come in and say, "Well, where's the disturbance?" And she pointed to the little 9-year-old boy sitting up on the counter. And the policeman says, "Ma'am, what's the problem?" By then, the boy's mother was on her way, Carl says. She comes down there praying the whole way there, "Lordy, Jesus, please don't let them put my child in jail." And my mother asks the librarian, "What's the problem?" "He wanted to check out the books and, your son shouldn't be down here," the librarian said, according to Carl. And the police officer said, "Why don't you just give the kid the books?" And my mother said, "He'll take good care of them." So, the librarian reluctantly handed over the books. And then, Carl says, "My mother said, what do you say?" And Ron answered, "Thank you, ma'am." Wow. That's so powerfully emotive in so many ways that his mom still asked him to say thank you. While it's horrible this was even an incident, I'm so glad that, in the midst of segregation, the racist librarian was the only one with egg on her face. Props also to that 1950s cop. Yeah, they ain't all bad, then goodness. I was pretty shocked. I didn't think police officers would care like that. Most probably do. Most do, but most of Reddit thinks blue man bad. Yeah, some do, but even those are willingly part of a system of laws that was made by the rich and powerful to stay in power. If you're not in the privileged class already, one of the purposes of the police is to keep you at the bottom. You're right, but I don't think a lot of them even know how bad the system they're supporting is in their defense. Yeah, this story makes me happy, in so many ways. Now I'm off to find the 2019 parody. Exactly, I would rather name police station by his name than library. Rising above. Gotta be greater than the haters. Darkness does not drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hatred does not drive out hatred, only love can do that. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. Makes me think of that black fella that befriended the Grand Wizard of the KKK and sort of made him leave the clan. Wade Watts was the black preacher and the former KKK wizard was Johnny Lee Clary. Wasn't Wade Watts that kid from Ready Player One? How unfortunate. I wish we could remember this better in today's day and age. Hate is noisy, and the internet was built for noise. Love is there. You may need to go and see it firsthand though. All the best, don't let it wear you down. 13-year-old, gets killed in video game. 13-year-old, N-word. Thank you, that is very true. Most of the hateful are very much in the minority, a very vocal minority, but a minority nonetheless. The pushback on busing would suggest that many more whites than most wanna admit are racist. They're part of a silent majority. They don't get down like the KKK until you force integration on them. No, that's not really what I'm talking about. Your salty downvote has me thinking different. How so? I disagree with your premise that the majority of white people are racist and want to get down with the KKK. That is exactly the kind of toxicity I am referencing. You disagree because you misinterpreted what I said. And because you're dense. Most white people are racist, that is a fact. If you lean to the right, you're most likely a racist. If you lean to the left, you don't fully agree with the racists, you're not as overt as they are, but when busing was forced, you saw just how many white moderates were in fact racist. That's where the get down like the KKK part comes in. When you magically changed what I said to with, you changed the context. I'm sure that was deliberate. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. The second you start to disagree with someone, you jump to insults, assumptions and non-truths. This is the toxicity I am speaking of. Tell me, if the majority of the white people in the United States are racist, how was Obama elected? How is it that Bush didn't get impeached for adding Condoleezza Rice to his cabinet? Hell, who do you think fought the Civil War and ratified the 13th, 14th and 15th Amendments? There are no insults, assumptions, or non-truths. When you have nothing to say, you start backpedaling and using the "I'm not a racist" patented playbook. The same white people who voted for Obama turned around and voted for Trump. 53% of white women voted for Trump. Over half. After he was saying grab them by the pussy. Is that an assumption or non-truth? What does Rice even have to do with anything? Bush had two conservative black people around. I don't see how that makes him some amazing progressive. And the Civil War was fought to put down a rebellion, not for the sake of slaves. It's 2019 and people like you are still trying to rewrite history when it comes to that war. And the 13th Amendment allowed for slavery through incarceration, something the racist South used to their advantage. The 14th Amendment and 15th Amendment weren't even enforced for almost a century afterward. Black people were threatened with literal fucking death if they voted, which is why to this day many older blacks get pissed at us if we neglect to vote. They lived that shit. So far with this nonsense. You have nothing constructive to offer but the same excerpts from the tired ass "I'm not a racist" playbook. Thanks for proving my point about the origin of today's toxicity, lol. You have literally nothing to do but downvote and cry about toxicity. Thanks for proving my point about how whites are most racist. There's no love in my life, I can tell you that. Subscribe to more positive subreddits, try to get away from the 24/7 bad news cycle. That is a feedback loop you don't need. Oh yeah, I'm not talking about on Reddit lol, mostly just IRL. I go to a UC and it's just suyu upper toxic. I think of it as if someone is being a dick to you and you're just being nice. Now they're not only a dick, they're a dick to a nice person. Eventually either they realize they're a dick or enough other people realize that they're forced to change. Share a hug with a brother is also a powerful thing. My favorite quote, maybe of all time. And one I try to live by. It is a shame that most people don't and are just as hate-filled as those they hate or think they are better than. Isn't this Buddha who said this? Edit. NVM. It's a similar quote. Then he was shot, and racism is still alive and well 80 years later, so the indoctrination of racism wins every time. It will never be perfect, but improvement can always occur. Antifa, kill milk, he is a Nazi. So relevant today with Antifa and Neos. Haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. It's pretty much what I strive towards. Do not stoop to the other person's level. Instead, make yourself look like the best possible person in the eyes of everyone else. It only makes the person look that much worse without you even having to do anything. It was something I thought of implementing after hearing a story from my cooking teacher. Her teacher had stood there and yelled at her. After he looked around and realized, he apologized. By making himself the fool, she came out on top. It can be used quite often in retail and management is happy with it because it focuses on problem solving and de-escalation. I like it because it just makes them look bad. When they go low, we go high ain't coming out of nowhere, folks. Nailed it? Quite literally in his case, he became an astronaut. Fuck what, how about these evil racist idiots, learn to be human beings. I'm so sick of the rise above bullshit. I don't wanna rise above nothing, I was be just like everyone else and treated like a fucking human being. The policemen were real ones, dude. When they go low, we go high. And also wear a cup. That slogan lost an election to the less popular president. It was spoken by Michelle Obama in 2016. She was making the case for Hillary Clinton before she lost to Trump. I don't know how well it was received. The slogan wasn't solely responsible for her losing the election. Definitely a survival tactic, teaching black boys who have been wronged by white people to be polite. Maybe, but maybe it's because she knew that it would make her son the better person. And 70 years later we all agree that librarian is a massive dick. Go mom. 1959 was 60 years ago. Hey, I just point out the dicks, I can't do math, tongue sticking out. What breed of dog are you? Dick pointer, why? What's 2 minus 1? Spain. Who are you, and why were you reading my diary? I'm a diary retriever. I'm bad with names though. Should have read more math books. You should leave that to you / points out headaches. Dude, you caught that time traveler red-handed. That's likely part of it, but there's no point in ignoring that black parents did, and still do on occasion, teach their kids to be excessively nice and deferential even when being treated poorly, specifically because they might get murdered if the wrong white person takes offense. It's way more probably that a white person is killed / robbed / raped or assaulted by a black criminal than the contrary. Look at statistics. More than 97% of the interracial violence is done by black criminals against white victims. Oh. I wonder if that has anything to do with the systematic oppression of black people, which causes them to be generationally poor, and poor people are way more likely to commit crime, particularly when brought up in a society that tells them black people commit crimes. White people are like 70% of the population in the States. It's not. Black people are still taught to tuck their tails in the face of white hate to avoid being beaten or killed. Source: am black, know hundreds of other black people. Am black, can confirm. If I didn't fear for my life at times, I'd be a lot less polite to people who don't deserve it. Sometimes you just really gotta envy the white folk, haha, especially the Karens. They can complain all they want about something, regardless of whether they're in the right or wrong, and make a scene and no one will bat an eyelid. Black person does it, all hell breaks loose. Fucking Karens. You know why you never see a baby Karen? 'Cause they crawl out from under rocks fully formed. Or when any other color does it, they represent the entire color. Same. It's crazy how many of us have this mentality but don't express it to each other. Survival tactic ingrained into our subconscious. I am white and I also am very polite towards black men for fear of my life. It seems it goes both ways. Username doesn't check out. Fear for your life? Come on now. There was a video recently of a black woman politely telling someone she hired to repair something in her house, plumber, electrician, that she wouldn't need his services anymore after seeing his huge rebel flag flying on a pole on the back of his truck. Can't help but think this was a big reason why she was as overly courteous, sad face. I saw that video and yes and no because she technically had no reason to respond negatively, as he had not provoked her with anything other than her implied understanding of what his ideals were. Yes, because if she had responded negatively, as I'm sure she wanted to because that symbol is deeply offensive, then there is no telling what he would have done. I was engaged to a black woman, have traveled a lot, seen many things, try very hard to shed my conservative small-minded past, and now work in a prison. White culture very much so is still hung up on he's one of the good ones. A polite, well-dressed black man is used as an example of how all blacks should act. They don't say the words anymore, but I often see white people treat blacks as though they should know their place. Shit is hard to see, especially in a custody/correction setting. If it's hard for me to see, I can't imagine it's easy to live with day after day. Yes, that's very true, and good on you for the insight. Many people like to believe that racism has been abolished, but attitudes like that are extremely prominent, especially where I live in GA. LOL, tuck our tails between our legs? The fuck? LMAO, yeah, okay. Don't lie. It's way more probably that a white person is killed / robbed / raped or assaulted by a black criminal than the contrary. Look at statistics. More than 97% of the interracial violence is done by black criminals against white victims. What you say is just racism anti-white. The majority of the criminals are black. It goes both ways really. Anytime one race strongly outnumbers the other, you get this sort of thing happening. My nephew had to learn to keep quiet and avoid defending himself in a mostly black school. He was repeatedly beat up and called various names that referenced him being white along with plenty of other hateful insults. The more he defended himself, the more he got grouped up on. My sister eventually just moved him to a different school. He had a much easier time after that. Oh yeah, it's absolutely a majority issue. If blacks were equal in number to whites in the country, I'm sure racism would be a completely different type of animal, but as long as you have people who are different than others, bullying will take place. Unfortunately for us, it's not limited to a grade school, it's the entire country. So it doesn't really go both ways, only in very small settings. You're white, so enjoy downvotes. There can be more than one reason. No, it's definitely a survival tactic. The only thing worse than a racist is one who feels disrespected. Or maybe it's a survival tactic. Considering how police behave towards us, most of us have had the talk at some point, and it's still necessary in 2019. That's what's most interesting, more so than this feel-good nonsense that doesn't change anything. I think this is it. That woman is not the type to need a survival mode. She was preparing her son for greatness. Probably a bit of both. It never hurts anybody to be nice, but being a dick is a great way to get a nightstick in the mouth. I don't care what it was. I choose to believe this. I love ignorance and I don't want anything challenging it. Okay, I guess I deserved that. But what I really mean is, I'd rather teach my children, if I ever have any, to always be thankful and honorable no matter what the other person did or said. I genuinely think that this would make them a better person. If you think I'm wrong in thinking this way, please let me know. I would like to learn, change and improve. I mean, generally that is a good policy in all situations. I'm white, and I can't know what her motivation was, but, in my opinion, when someone is a massive asshole like that librarian was, you are showing great class when you throw them the very courtesy that they are denying you. She wasn't some Uncle Tom. She made sure he got his books. She was also the one who contributed to her son getting a top education. It doesn't matter what color you are, slapping class back into an asshole's face is an effective way of dealing with jerks like that. No. Fuck no. It was Milk's truth. That love conquers all. Love thy enemy is literally a strategy to end hatred. Society today has forgotten that. We now believe that we should allow the hate to consume us, forgetting the wisdom of the past, not realizing how much we are poisoning our own souls. We could all spend our entire lives hating our enemies, justifiably too, they deserve it, and still, it would have been better to love them for our own sake. Not because they deserve this love, but for us. Plus it has the side effect of making peace possible. It's not guaranteed, it takes time, but unconditional love has the effect of turning people's hearts. Hate will ensure things stay the same. If that little boy said "fuck you too lady" to the librarian, he would have good reason to do so, but that librarian wouldn't stay up at night thinking about it. She would shrug it off thinking something like, "and that's why we keep those people away from us." But hearing "thank you ma'am," I guarantee you it gnawed at her soul for weeks. Made her feel like a horrible person, made her question her viewpoints, think about changing. Bruh, Milk literally said before his death that he was afraid he was greeting his people into a burning house because what's been done can't be overcome the way we've been going about it. You can look it up, I'm at work lol. The idea is still there, it is a Buddhist idea too, and Christianity even touches on it. Anger and revenge appeal to the masses, unfortunately. And those in power are using it to keep us locked in a constant hate cycle as a society right now. It is a cycle though, no doubt about it. Each side may ask itself, should we stop hating, fighting? And then decide, no, they just did X, that must be repaid in kind. And then just repeat over and over again. Are you saying black people decided to start hating? Milk was concerned because American society as a whole was flawed and at its current state, unsustainable for black people even with integration. We didn't do anything to white people. Thanks for watching. If you could like, subscribe and comment best Reddit stories for more Reddit videos.